What's up, Smash Heads? My name is Brainsmasher. I've got a review for you today. I'm going to try to convince you to pick up a copy of the new full length from New York's Negative Plane. It's called the Pact. It just was released on compact disc by the Agena Offensive and Invictus Productions. I think that's the European outlet for this fine pile of riffs. This came in my mailbox like Monday or so, and this is all I've listened to all week long. This is the first full length that they've done in 11 years. I kind of thought maybe these guys weren't going to do another one. So, oh my god, what a comeback. Negative Plane are a band that I haven't put a lot of effort into listening to over the years. I have that Stained Glass Revelations album, which is really, really excellent. I don't know if I've even actually heard the first one, which is super well reviewed. In fact, their last two albums, super well reviewed. Everybody kind of loves this band if they know about them. But I kind of feel like they're in this corner pocket spot where they're kind of I guess, the more advanced listeners of the occult metal are pretty aware of these guys, but I think they really deserve to kind of be more well-known to a lot of people. So I want to be a part of making them more well-known to people by hopefully shooting this review and telling you a little bit about this album. It's amazing. So if you're kind of like me, I'm a latecomer, obviously a second wave black metal kind of person. So the first wave of black metal kind of stuff tends to be a little bit kind of lost on me sometimes. So I have a lot of those things, but I don't really listen to them as regularly as I do the second wave, of course. And so therefore, my palate is really entrenched in those Scandinavian black metal albums that came out in the mid-90s. So that to me is black metal. So I don't necessarily have this sort of taste for the first wave of black metal that my favorite black metal musicians were influenced by. Does that make sense? Am I getting too... Hope I'm not getting too austere here. But anyway, so for that reason, Negative Plane works for me really well because they take in a lot of those first wave black metal influences. Your Master's Hammer, your Coroners, a little bit of Voivods kind of stuff. Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, obviously. They're working in all these sort of influences that a lot of second wave bands, of course, obviously did, but I felt like they took those influences and kind of went with their own thing. Negative Plane are maybe kind of taking a step back and paying homage to the 80s and early 90s bands in a big way, but they have this sort of mysticism and storytelling about their riffs, and there's kind of a more theatrical, maybe bombastic kind of delivery of their music. And the vocals also kind of are the turning point for me that make it a little bit more my wheelhouse. I kind of feel like we as black metal nerds have a tendency to say well, it doesn't quite sound like black metal quite yet, but you know what? The vocals are black metal, so I'm going to go ahead and take it. So it isn't necessarily what I would say is emblematic of what we all think of as black metal, as people in my peer group, I want to say. But your older generation is definitely going to say, oh yeah, this is obviously an homage to first wave black metal. I know hashing out all those semantics may be kind of a little bit less relevant for a normal review, but this is definitely a strong homage. This band exists to pay total homage to those 80s riff masters. Definitely hearing a lot of Coroner in this riffing. You'll hear a lot of Master's Hammer kind of stuff here too. There's timpani parts. There's the guitar work of, I'm not sure what his name is, but he's also in Funereal Presence, which is kind of a more black metal, I'm talking about, sort of thing. He has a really, really interesting, very unique guitar style. Very experimental and kind of plays with these odd rhythms, and it's very atypical of what you ordinarily hear out of a lot of kind of throwback bands of today. So for that reason, I find his music and Negative Plane's music super engaging. The drumming has just a really, really patient creativity to coincide and go along with the interesting guitar work, which is just really all over the place. It winds up being like, on your first listen, it kind of feels kind of like weirdly alienating in a way. It's like, where is this riff going? It kind of noodles off in these weird tangential kind of harmonies. But like the second and the third and the fourth time you come around to listening to it, they're catchy. They're really, really going to stick in your head. And I just love that about it. I love stuff that, like, on first listen can sound really, really bizarre and like strangely horrific and occultish. And then by the third or fourth time around, you're just like humming it in your head over and over and over again. And this album just fucking delivers that in spades. There's a lot of interesting, the thing I like about Negative Plane, I think, is that there's a lot of like breathing room, a lot of airiness to their overall mix and sound. There's moments that are really sinister and build up to selling you on a lot of their kind of larger ideas. So there's moments that kind of climb with their clean guitars into something that winds up being really sinister and devilish sounding. There's timpanis, there's cellos, there's lots of just like patient instrumentation that I think you kind of have to work for and rewards you really, really well. The album plays just absolutely great. There's like an instrumental in the middle of it, and then the last song is like 14 minutes long. It's just this absolute epic riff pile. Right now it's actually on the last track, if you can hear it. And just the last, I love how an album can just like end in this crescendo of like a 14-minute long epic iteration of what the whole album is bringing to the table. And so it came to pass as the last track on here. It's so great. I'll show you a little bit of the artwork there. So I believe this is going to be coming out on vinyl maybe later on in the year. There's the folks in Negative Plane. A lot of cool artwork. There's a story behind the whole album. I've just kind of started to read into it. Like my main listening anymore happens in my car, so unfortunately I don't have a lot of time to like read lyrics along with the albums. But this seems like it has a pretty interesting story going on. So, like I said, if you're an old school first wave black metal fan, this is definitely up your alley. And if you're kind of a second wave kind of guy like me that dabbles in kind of that stuff, like Coroner, Celtic Frost, your Hellhammers, your Master's Hammers and stuff like that, this is a very great way to kind of enjoy that style, but in a more kind of modern context with a little bit more of the, I don't know, like since the 90s we've kind of learned how to craft more elaborate songs, and Negative Plane just takes those ideas and gives them an updated palette and template. I love that about it. And like, these guys are very clever stylistically, but also I think they're super aware of their music as listeners in a way that they mix and master and record their albums to sound just right. The drums are kind of echoey, kind of flammy, kind of messy sounding in a way, but the instrumental is just sharp, clear, sharp and tight as hell. So like, sonically, there's a great awareness of how this kind of thing ought to sound. It's very occult sounding and mysterious in parts. And I've noticed there's even some like really nice like little guitar accoutrements and harmonies going on that are kind of buried in the mix, and you got to kind of like focus your ear on those kind of things and listen for those little treats. And those are the kind of things I think that keep you coming back to an album over and over and over and over again. Because you might not catch it on the first listen through. An album that keeps on giving and giving and changing and kind of growing on you. It's just the perfect fucking thing. So, check this album out, Negative Planes, The Pact. Let me know what your thoughts on the record were. Get it from Agenda Offensive in the United States, Invictus Productions in Europe. And yeah, I think they also got it on Bandcamp. So, we'll see you next time. That was a great video, and it was made possible mostly by me, but also thanks to the never-ending, undying love and support of my Patreon subscribers. some of whom are: if you would like to be a part of supporting my channel and encouraging me to make more content that's as good as the one you just watched, join the Patreon. It's $6.66 a month, and I would appreciate your support. Thanks for watching either way.